Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's conversation on the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. I'm super excited today to be joined by Rob Dowdle from the Dowdle Family Farms YouTube channel. He's a husband, father of 3 girls, a full-time pastor, 7th-generation farmer, and 6 years ago, he began Dowdle Family Farms and began implementing principles from regenerative agriculture to improve the health of the soil, reduce farm input costs like fertilizers, and create healthier food. And that was kind of when the birth of the Dowdle Family Farms brand and then the Dowdle Family Farms YouTube channel happened. Rob, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dusty. Thanks for having me. It's a joy to be on the podcast.
Well, I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to this chat. So before we get started, I like to open up with kind of the origin story of the YouTube channel. So I'm on it right now on my second monitor. You've got some really amazing stuff going on, some really informational things happening on the channel. But how did you get started on YouTube? What made you take the farm business to the digital side of things?
Well, I was making an attempt to kind of convert sales through a email marketing program. And so there's some videos that the programmer had suggested do some YouTube videos to help share your farm experience and your farm story. Those videos flopped. I'm not much of a marketer. And when you go back and look at those videos, they are absolutely horrible. But it's interesting. I created one video particularly, training pigs to an electric fence. It's not a very good video, but for some reason, it's a 3-minute long video, and I got like 5, 6, 7,000 views a year or so after I published it. I'd kind of dropped away, like so many of your interviewees. I dropped away from YouTube, and I saw about a year ago that it had gotten some traction. So I thought, well, I'll try to record some more YouTube videos. And so I kind of started again a year or two after I originally created the channel, which was about a year ago, and really started trying to improve the quality of the videos and trying to just figure out what to do. It has been an incredibly tedious journey trying to figure out what people like to watch on YouTube. But it's been fun. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it's interesting, when videos take off after a long amount of time, you look at it, that was kind of the initial stage of my YouTube journey. I had uploaded a tutorial video to send across the country to someone that I knew working on a project. And I published it, made it public, and YouTube contacted me and they said, hey, your video's got like over 100,000 views. Would you like to kind of monetize? And that's when I was like, well, of course, you're offering to me to make money. Of course, I'll do that. So it's really neat to hear your story about how you kind of picked it back up. And consistency is key on YouTube, and understanding that is important. All right, so now let's talk about some of the things that you've implemented on the YouTube channel. I can look now. You're doing custom thumbnails. They're really good, by the way. You're doing a good job designing your thumbnails. What are some things that you've done and implemented on the channel that you think have attributed to the growth of the channel and just the community that you're building over on the Dowdle Family Farms channel?
Honestly, I'm not real sure about that. I think the main value that my channel particularly brings is when I first started farming and some of these regenerative agricultural principles, I was trying to figure out how to implement a lot of this stuff on a small scale. People will use certain types of equipment that are expensive. They're cheap for large farmers, but for somebody that's just farming on a couple hundred acres or even 5 acres, spending 10, 20, 30, $50,000 on a no-till drill is just not real practical. And so I was trying to figure out how I could apply a lot of these principles on my scale. And I didn't find a whole lot of information on that. So that's really where I started building many of my videos, how to improve soil, how I've been doing it. And I think that content and answering that question with some of my struggles has really contributed to the success, so to speak, of the channel.
And what would you say are some of the most difficult things that you've the roadblocks or the failures per se along the way for you along the journey? Because as creators, we're going to have those things where we kind of hit a wall or whatever it may be? What are some of those things for you, and how did you get past them?
For me, the biggest issue that I ran into is how to create good quality content that people want to watch. Some of my earlier videos, like some of those on cooking, my wife told me afterwards, she said, "Well, you're just sitting there chopping up onions. Nobody really cares." And she was being very much more diplomatic than I described then, but I realized that it's really people are looking for information. They want to get it quickly and trying to create content in a way that answers people's questions, but doesn't drag them through a lot of other meaningless information that may be good information, but it may not be asking the questions that they're particularly trying to answer in those videos themselves.
Yeah, in the South, we call that minutia, right?
Yes, yes, we do. We
Yeah,
do.
yeah. I agree completely, because what happens is you're either there to be entertained or to be educated on something, right? Now, there is a combination of the two where, entertainers can be educational and vice versa. Educators can be entertaining as well. But for the most part, you're either going there to laugh, smile, whatever it may be, have a good time, or you're there to learn something. You just got a new tool or a new thing and you want to learn how to use it, and you go to YouTube. Now, as a tutorial creator myself, I see the benefits of eliminating those long intros, getting rid of all of that just middle stuff that really doesn't help. It's just you kind of filling dead air. And so what have you found to be some good ways to do that? Like what has been some ways that you've cut the fat in your videos? Like having your wife tell you it's good to have an honest partner, right? Who can say, "Hey, Dusty, hey, Rob, that you probably want to, you're just wanting to hear yourself talk at this point."
Yeah, so I have a tendency to prattle about stuff that people just don't care about. And so cutting a lot of that stuff out in the editing process has been really good and really helpful. But and I think I'm just beginning to answer this. In fact, my most popular video, it's gone by several different titles, but it's gotten 81 something thousand views as of today. It's actually what put me into the YouTube partner program back in January. And I look at it, and the average watch time was 4 or 5 minutes. I assume it's about the same. It's an 18-minute long video, and it answers people's questions about how to implement some of these principles on a small scale. But I look and I'm seeing in the video itself, looking back, and this is just 3 months later, that there's so much, uh, there's so much not useless information, but there's so much extra information that is not answering that specific question. And so I'm really trying to get into shorter videos that answer a very specific question, like what is buckwheat and how can what is buckwheat? What are some ways you can use it? Not talk about my whole history of using buckwheat. And if people want more information, they can watch new videos that meet those specific needs rather than trying to get very broad and tell a whole 15-minute story about something that answers a 3-minute question.
And are you purposefully doing that, like in your scripting, when you're bullet pointing out your videos? Are you kind of getting an overview of what you want to do, and then you see some things and you're like, well, that's not really helpful. That's not really the purpose of this video, because really what you're talking about is you're talking about targeting your niche audience, right? And really making sure that the video you're making that's answering a question is indeed answering that question quickly, efficiently, and by the time they're at the end of the video, they have the answer to whatever question they came there for. That's the whole point of, informational content on YouTube. One of the ways I love to do it, Rob, is to go to my videos, one of the ones that has done fairly well, and YouTube gives you that heat map throughout the video where you can scrub the playhead there on the video, and you can see the mountains and the valleys of where people are coming in and where they're kind of fast forwarding to, and you're like, oh, I see, this really low part right here is just me discussing why we're just me fluffing or whatever it may be. So are you purposely doing that in the scripting and premeditating all of that?
Yes, I'm trying to. I've got a couple people that watch the videos that are just brutally honest when I ask them to be,
Of course.
and that is very helpful. But it's also this guy particularly. He's not a farmer. He lives in an agricultural community, but he's watching the videos for a very different reason than much of my audience is watching the videos, and um, trying to sort out some of those issues can be challenging sometimes. But yeah, I especially that retention analyzer and YouTube analytics, where you can watch the videos and see where the spikes and the dips are. That has been very, very helpful for me in understanding where people are falling off, where people are really finding it interesting, and where people back up or skip forward to over and over again. I have used it, but I haven't really thought about applying it in the YouTube videos. But when you just go to YouTube and you start scrubbing it, those, little mountain peaks and all, I haven't thought about using that one yet.
Yeah, I've found that that just gives me a synopsis of, where people are coming in and out, and I can just make, mental notes of what I was talking about during the peaks and the valleys as well. So how do you come up with new ideas for videos? Is it just you randomly going through your day-to-day farming life and you're thinking, oh man, this would be a great video? And then once you do come up with those video ideas, how are you curating those? Are you putting them on a notepad? Give us the whole system of how you come up with ideas and kind of put them down on a notepad or whatever it may be to have later. Because a lot of times idea creation is one of the most difficult things for a lot of creators, because they always come to me and say, I'm 6 months into this thing, I have no more video ideas. My first thought is, maybe you got into the wrong niche. Maybe you're not passionate about what you're doing anymore. But talk about your process.
Yeah, so sometimes the video ideas that I come up with answer very specific questions. 3 or 4 videos that I've published are, can I fix this equipment? That's what I've asked myself, and so I'll record the video. Those type of videos do not get a whole lot of attention. A couple things that I've done on steel chainsaws have gotten a couple thousand views. I just published one on replacing disc bearings and blades, and that's the kind of thing that people aren't even going to be watching for entertainment. It's more of I would assume it's more of something that people will search for, look at what they're looking for, and then move on. But I still publish those. Some of them are, I've got, this is the time of the year where we're growing a lot of cover crops, which is one of the things that we do. My most specific audience and most dedicated audience are people that are interested in growing feed for their pastured pigs. And a lot of that occurs with cover crops and soil health and that kind of thing. And so I've got some playlists that are that follow my journey in one particular field, regenerating, this soil in this 10-acre field on cover crops. And so those videos are easy because I know I'm planting those fields right now. So I'll have a video that updates on those. Well, I have a lot of people ask me about something like very specific cover crop species, how I choose mixes and that kind of thing. And so when I start thinking through those processes, I just write down the ideas and plan on recording them. So it's really just trying to one, take people on a journey. That one playlist is taking people on a journey and regenerating that 10 acres of pasture. And that'll, those videos will come throughout the next several months and years as we go through that process. Some of them are highlighting very specific types of crops and plants and that kind of thing. But most of them, when I'm farming and I think, hey, this is something people may find interesting, I know a lot of those videos aren't going to be super popular, but they will help people. And then some videos have the potential to be popular, but sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. I haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah, and a lot of your content is like mine in that it's evergreen, right? Like it's content that
Yes.
can be valuable for, if not months, years and years in the future. I mean, unless they change how that chainsaw works or how that whatever it may be works, then it's going to be valuable, and the algorithm may pick it up and it may be helpful for a decade, depending on how YouTube's algorithm and stuff changes. Are you making decisions knowing that? Like, how does knowing all of that kind of help you make decisions on what videos you make and don't make?
Um, the thing that really drives what I'm doing on YouTube, there are 2 things. One, I'm just trying to help people that are in a similar situation to me, trying to figure out how to do what they're doing on a farm. There are a lot of first generation farmers. I'm a 7th generation farmer, but I've never done stuff like I'm doing here. And so I'm trying to help them, educate them on their journey, and serve their needs. It's so that's one of my primary purposes. The other one is to figure out how to create good content. But but and so in that, I know that some videos will perform really well, some videos will not. Um, the chainsaw fixing the chainsaw videos, they got 100, maybe 200 views the first couple of weeks, and now somehow people are watching those a lot more, because the YouTube algorithm has picked it up. But a lot of my videos are, I guess what I'm trying to get to is there are some videos that are going to help people, but they're not going to be very popular. Then there's some videos that are, and those are usually how-to videos. But then there are some videos that I've realized, like we've gotten rid and culled a lot of our pigs on the farm the last few months because of some problems. But the short of an answer is, as I was recording a video on introducing people to the new pigs, and that guy that watches our videos, his name, I call him Doc, and Doc said, I want to know what happened to all those other videos. I mean, he and I talk to all those other pigs. He and I talk on a regular basis. And he said, he says, it seems out of place because I don't know why you're getting new pigs. And so some of that, it's not really vlog content, but some people I think are watching the channel. I know several people in the Netherlands are watching the channel just because they find the farming journey interesting. So there's a balance between the how-to videos for me and also keeping people updated with what's happening on the farm, not
Mhm.
all the detailed information, but just letting people know what direction our farm is moving and some of those kind of things.
I think you got to have both, right? Like I think a channel like yours benefits from that evergreen long tail how-to stuff, and then as well as the vlog,
Mhm.
entertainment stuff to build the community up. So I love that. Rob, what's been the most surprising or interesting thing about being on YouTube? You know, you're 120 some odd plus videos into this journey now. What to you has been some of the most surprising things that you've discovered along the way?
I'm surprised. Well, at first I was not surprised that people would watch the videos, and then I was really surprised that people would watch the videos. And I say that because you mentioned earlier that I'm a pastor, and on Sunday mornings, and I have this kind of dry sense of humor. So if I'm offensive here, forgive me. But our youth met pastor and worship pastor has a YouTube channel, and he was just amazed that that one video went viral for me, 80 something thousand views now, and he was sending that information to me, and he was talking about it. He said, "You're going to be a YouTube star." La da 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 da. I said, "I don't know about that." But the following Sunday, we had a guy in church who we thought he'd had a heart attack. I mean, we were really concerned for him. It was
Oh
some
no.
other health issues, but like the ambulance came up, and so when I was telling Will, our worship pastor, I said, Will, the thing is that so many people don't realize is that in a worship service, or when you're listening to a sermon or a message or something like that, people feel obligated to stay there. Now, they don't have to be awake and they don't have to be engaged. They may be playing on their phones or they may be engaged in reading their Bibles on their phones. But to get out of a worship service, you kind of have to fake a heart attack to leave if you're
That's
bored. And
uh,
on YouTube, if you look at the analyzing the data where people tend to trail off and drop off, I mean,
mhm.
YouTube is, I mean, it is brutal. And I am that way. If I'm watching a video like those long introductions, I fast forward through, or sometimes I just stop watching the video, whether they answer my question or not, because I just don't want to watch, a 10-second, 20-second introduction when I'm trying to figure out how to do something. And likewise, creating for me, creating good content on YouTube, you have just a wealth of information that YouTube provides about what people are finding helpful or meaningful and where people trail off or don't want to watch. And if they don't want to watch it, they just move on to the next video or stop watching your content.
Absolutely.
Um, so it amazes me that there are as many people that at least find some value in in the videos that I'm producing. It amazes me. It's really humbling, really.
Yeah, YouTube to me, it will never cease to amaze me. I love the ability that it gives people, the platform that it gives people, and obviously that can be dangerous as well if the wrong people get a hold of that and get power and get leverage and have authority. We're seeing that with our youth, with the examples that they're seeing over on YouTube and TikTok and places like that.
Yeah.
Maybe on the end of that answer, can you share like a memorable moment or interaction you've had with one of your viewers or community members? Like something that's just like, this could only happen on YouTube.
There are a couple people watching from the Netherlands have never farmed, never intend to, and they just find the content interesting. I don't understand how or why, but I think the one that the comment that sticks out to me the most, I did a video on bottle feeding a piglet. We had a piglet that we had to bottle feed. We had to do this several times, and it is an absolutely miserable experience. I cannot describe how miserable of experience it is. And I created a video on just trying to help people who are in that situation know some stuff about bottle feeding pigs. It's a big challenge, and most of the time they died just because of some other complications. But one of the guys watched that video, and he said it just entertained him so much he laughed and cried throughout the whole process, thinking of that pig squealing over and over and over while we were trying to help it. And the funny thing is the night before, my wife had come home. She'd been out of town. She didn't even know we had a piglet in the house that we were
Mm-hmm.
bottle feeding. She loves having the pigs and the bottle feeding pigs. She doesn't like them in the house necessarily, but she enjoys that process. But she came home and she sent a picture to a video of her sitting in our sofa with a pig squealing for about 3 minutes. That 3 minutes went on for about 20 minutes while I was trying to feed it. And she sent it to her friends and said, "This is my life right now." And that comment, I think, just captured that user's comment just captured in that video anyway, just how miserable and how rewarding of an experience that can be. We get a lot of real positive comments, even if they're constructive criticism. It's amazing to get the constructive criticism as well. That really helps. Those don't come very often, but when they do, they're really meaningful too.
Yeah, I think the interactions that surprised me and amazed me the most, like you said, like, having viewers from the Netherlands, it lets you know the scope of YouTube and lets you know that, when you upload these videos, it's not just going out to, southeastern United States or the west coast of the United States. I mean, this thing is worldwide, and you could be helping or entertaining or, giving pleasure to people all over the world, whatever type of content you're trying to create. So to me, I love hearing interactions like that. And it's really neat to hear that there's people who have no interest in farming watching your videos. That says that you're doing something right. What is something that you wish you knew sooner? Like Rob, like on YouTube, looking back now, 100 plus videos in, thinking back now, what is something that you wish you would have done sooner or said to yourself, man, I wish I would have known about this sooner?
I wish I had known that I was not creating good videos sooner than I did. And I don't mean that negatively. I mean, it's not that there's not value there, but I wish that I knew sooner that the videos that I was producing was not particularly good. I would
Mm-hmm.
not have watched them at the time, and so I'm not sure why I thought other people would. But that's just part of the learning process. That's not to discourage people from
Mm-hmm.
watching, from creating videos. It's just that improving the quality of the content is really, really important for me anyway.
Yeah, I agree completely. I cringe at my old videos. I say it here quite often. I go back and listen to myself. I don't even sound like myself in those videos. And I look back and I say, but you know what? I understand what you're saying, Rob, but you kind of have to, it's like a building block, right? You kind of
Yes.
have to be there and produce that, lack of better words, crappy content to be able to then produce the better stuff because you're learning along the way. The creator that comes to me and says, I'm stagnant, I'm not growing, why am I not getting views or subscribers? It's the creator when I go to their channel, they're just creating the same thing over and over again. It's not getting better. It's not getting worse. It's just staying the same exact in quality, in type of content, in breadth of content. So all of that is important. What are you looking to do in the channel as far as like monetization, making money? You mentioned you're now part of the YouTube Partner Program. Are you planning on selling products, chemicals for the farm? What are your plans?
I really don't have a whole lot of intent to create revenue with the farm other than AdSense. I mean, I do have an Amazon affiliate thing that I'm working on it. I think I've earned $22 in Amazon affiliate links in the last 4 months. Obviously, the Google AdSense is the main driver right now. The AdSense money is not all that great. It's funny, the first 10 days I was in the YouTube Partner Program, I've earned more the first 10 days than I have in the 2.5 months since then. And it was in large part because of that
video. Yeah, the
that
big
one
video.
video.
Yeah.
And it had, at the time, it had a really high CPM for me anyway. It was, it's since been reduced, but the CPM at the time was $12 or so.
Which is fairly high. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly high. My average is, I think my average RPM tends to be $4 or $5
Right.
Per mil. That's the RPM, not the CPM. But some videos, the CPM is 6, which means the RPM would be, $3, $2.5 or $3 per mil or so.
Right. And for those of you listening, that really determines how much you're getting paid per 1,000 views. So if Rob's channel gets 1,000 views on farming and my channel gets 1,000 views on, let's say, YouTube education, the YouTube education space and advertisers may be paying more, or maybe the watch time is better on my channel than his, or vice versa. And those are going to be kind of what makes those rates fluctuate, as well as time of year, closer to the holidays, fourth quarter. People are trying to kind of offload or dump the ad spend if they have some extra or excess. So all of that can vary throughout the time. So I love that. And then lastly, Rob, what are you looking to do with the channel, like short term and long term? What are some plans that you have in place? Like what's the outlook?
Well, I'm not real sure. I'm trying to create a little bit more engagement. In fact, I mentioned earlier that we've got some new pigs on the farm, and this boar is absolutely massive. And I'm trying to create a little bit of community and get the YouTube viewership to actually name him. Going to have a little bit of a contest with some voting, and whoever picks the right name, I'm going to send them some of our honey, something along those lines. I don't know how it will play out, but trying to create a little bit more of a community there, trying to help others, learn how to do some of these types of farming.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I don't really have a whole lot of long-term plans for it at the moment, other than just trying to continue to provide good quality information that'll help people farm in more regenerative ways.
Absolutely. Guys, I hope you've learned something. I know I have today from Rob. Again, if you want to connect with him, he is over on YouTube at Dowdle Family Farms. He's got a website over there, more of a business type website, but all of that information will be in the show notes. Rob, thank you so much. Any final parting words for us today before we hop off?
No, thanks for having me, Dusty. It was a joy to be here. I really appreciate your help.
All right, good deal. Talk to you next time.
All right, take care.